IBO at NTT Data, please join me in welcoming Mr. Teixeira and our panelists, Domingo Gonzalez and Pilar Manchón. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to start greeting each one of you and to thank you, the Spain-US Chamber, for the opportunity. So first of all, presenting my two guests. So Pilar Manchón, she's the Senior Director Engineer and AI Strategist in Google. So it's a pleasure to have Google here present with us today. And Domingo Gonzalez, who is the Director of IT Innovation in Nestlé in North America. So I don't know if you know, but Nestlé is the biggest CPG company in the world. And to help me on this GenAI panel, I dared to invite someone more. So we will have here a couple of help of the GenAI itself. So I have 3 points in this presentation, in this small panel, this small panel where I will have this help. First of all, to do the introduction. The second, I had some help using Gemini and ChatGPT in order to prepare the questions. And third, the close itself. So the first one, what I did was something really simple. A couple of weeks ago, with a Chrome key, so those green backgrounds, I recorded myself with a really simple software. That software asked me to say something for 3 minutes in my native language. My native language is Portuguese because I'm a Portuguese person. And after that, I asked this, as you can imagine, my avatar, to prepare the presentation, the introduction for 3 minutes for this panel. So I gave him some bullets, what we're going to talk about, and this was the result. Please push the video.
Hello everyone, I am Miguel Teixeira's avatar, a digital version of Miguel powered by generative AI. As of today, you might still find me very innovative, but I am sure we will get used to digital co-workers like me very soon. And this is not the only big business and social transformation that generative AI will bring. Anyone will be able to transform a good idea into a successful and scalable digital business model, as the hottest new programming language is English or Spanish, thanks to large language models. Medicine will benefit from novel proteins for viral and cancer research created by transformer models, and training will be forever transformed as anyone can access virtual teachers that can support their continuous learning process. These are only some examples, but generative AI represents a huge opportunity and a responsibility for governments, boards, and CEOs to steer countries and companies with anticipation and knowledge. Using Gen AI, we can carve out new paths for growth, elevate customer satisfaction, and make operations seamless. Effective corporate governance in the age of AI requires a forward-looking approach to ensure AI adoption aligns with entities' values and long-term objectives. In the digital revolution era, enterprises undergo dramatic transformations in innovation, product positioning, and client interaction. This revolution is a complex web of interconnected enablers, fueling business transformation and new business models. These enablers include cloud computing, big data, the Internet of Things, IoT, artificial intelligence, and generative AI. Generative AI enables the creation of new products and services that were previously impossible. It can automate, augment, and accelerate work, enabling capabilities across a broad range of content, including images, video, audio, and computer code. It can improve several organizational functions, including classifying, editing, summarizing, answering questions, and drafting new content. Each of these actions has the potential to create value by changing how work gets done at the activity level across business functions and workflows. AI-driven innovation can lead to new business models that effectively differentiate themselves and create new value propositions for customers. Generative AI can automate tasks across various industries, from generating content and code to automating design and decision-making processes. This can lead to significant productivity gains and cost savings for businesses. While automation can improve efficiency, it also has the potential to displace jobs, particularly those involving routine, repetitive tasks. However, this could also lead to new roles requiring different skill sets, offering hope for the future job market. Senior leaders should communicate Gen AI's business objectives.
I hope it's enough for each one of you to see that I am the real one and that's the avatar, okay? Just one curiosity. Those 3 minutes I record, I was talking about the Olympic Games, and then the tool made everything else. So the time is very short, so I'll go directly to Pilar and to Domingo. My first question is very simple. I think 5 years ago we were talking about blockchain, and then suddenly the metaverse is going to be everywhere. And then 18 months ago, this Gen AI issue came as a consequence of the evolution of artificial intelligence. Can you please explain us why is this different? Pilar, shall we start?
Well, in my opinion, the difference is that AI is already here and it's here to stay. And it's sieving through everything that we do. It's not the future that we're seeing, it's what we're living through today and what we're preparing for. Those other technologies are also part of who we are, but not necessarily as integrated and as broadly applied to basically every field of industry, knowledge, science, and everything else. I think that the impact that AI is already having on all of us is something that we cannot erase, we cannot throw back, so we better embrace it and make the best out of it.
Okay, what about you, Domingo?
I think, from my point of view, I wouldn't compare Gen AI, artificial intelligence, with blockchain. I would compare that with internet and mobile social, those trends. I think the biggest difference now with Gen AI is that very easy to use, right? So people that can have a conversation with a solution about and getting value about this conversation. I think this is totally different from other technologies that we had in the middle, right, from mobile to here. And the other thing I agree with you is unlocking value across a lot of different functions across the enterprise, right? We see that artificial intelligence and Gen AI apply to many fields like sales, product innovation, manufacturing, and this is the thing that is making this momentum, right? And it's unlocking massive value, I would say.
Okay, I dare to say also that with Gen AI, you can produce blockchain applications. With Gen AI, you can evolve the metaverse to a future you don't know.
Yes.
So it's basically.
No, I will say that this is an interesting point. Is Gen AI has this compound effect with other technologies. So combining, Gen AI with blockchain, automation, etc., still the value to capture is bigger.
Okay. So, but let's give you some examples. What at the end are human activities that are improved by Gen AI? Can you give me some examples, some thoughts about this?
I'm very excited about almost anything that we can do. We're talking in terms of productivity for everyday tasks. Like I myself do a lot of public speaking, prepare a lot of presentations, and I go, Gemini, prepare something for me. And it's not always like, just delivering something like you just did with your wonderful avatar, but it gives you maybe 50, 60, 70% of the work already done so that you can progress further. In fields like research in itself, the impact that AI is having in all areas of science and knowledge is incredible. The examples that one of the examples that usually excites me a lot is AlphaFold, which I'm sure many of you have heard about. There are more than 1.4 million people in 190 countries already using the protein database that was created by AlphaFold, and there are thousands of institutions across the world using these tools to further their research into new drugs, new medicines, new discoveries that will impact our well-being and everything else. There are so many examples about how AI is advancing our research and progress in millennia, if you take into consideration how long it would take to get there without those tools. I don't know how people cannot be excited about that.
Good.
Yeah, to me it's the same thing. Like I think your video stole some of the ideas, but we have in Nestlé something that we call, everyday AI. But this is related to that, to emails, translations, proofreading, etc. So in my case, I write a lot of emails to senior management, right? And in the past, I spent a lot of time doing proofreading that is perfect. Now, it's better, this communication with senior management in the company. So this is a small example. But I think the most important use cases are what we call game-changing AI. And those are related to functions like a supply chain, manufacturing, product innovation. For instance, in product innovation, we were for generating new ideas, new concepts, like it's a period of 6 months to 6 weeks, utilizing Gen AI. And this is just one piece. We're using that for supply chain optimization in many, many areas. And as you say, because AI is everywhere, now we're starting to see the transformation in the domain, in the end-to-end, end-to-end of sales and end-to-end of procurement, of legal and marketing. And you can see all those multiple use cases that they are adding value, across the value chain.
Good. I really would like to spend here much more time, but the time is so short that we have to go to something a little bit more, shall I say, heavy, which is the risks, the social impacts, the ethical applications, the regulations, and so on.
Yeah.
So my first question for you is, at the end, there are so many benefits, but what are the risks of Gen AI, in your perspective?
Should I
can start this time. I know.
Please, go ahead.
I think there are many risks, right? Like as everybody knows, right? So confidentiality, and privacy is one. Intellectual property is another area, right? The risk of overconfidence that you talked about last night, right? Like there is no refresh in the knowledge, right? So sometimes to train this model, you take a lot of time. So sometimes you want something that is up to date or something that changed in the last months is not part of the model. So this is another. I think the most important for me is this explainability, right? So we are putting those models out there, and sometimes we cannot explain very well the outcome. Like for instance, sometimes it's biased, right? Because the training data that you use is biased. For instance, I have an example. It's very, very silly, but whenever we start to explore Gen AI, you go to this kind of image generator and you put parent. You have a picture of 7 women, and just give me 10 pictures of parents, right? And you have they give you seven women and 3 men, right? This is bias in the train because it's identified that a parent should be a mom, right? So those things, I think, are things to consider even whenever you design those solutions.
From my perspective, we are already very aware of the risks that AI brings to us. I mean, with any powerful tool, and AI is a tool, is a means to an end. There are so many things that you can do right, but there are so many things that can go wrong. So the best thing is to actually have a very responsible approach to make sure that we test things ahead of time, that we try to anticipate to any problems, that we try to remove bias from the data sets, and that we try to do things right. But all in all, with all the examples that Domingo provided, which I agree was like all the, the hallucinations and the challenges that we have ahead of us, by far, in my opinion, the greatest risks that we have is human stupidity.
Yes.
We're going to go as far and as fast as we want, but we are in control. And so it's up to us to make sure that we take the necessary steps and the necessary precautions to use AI in the most constructive, just, and appropriate way to advance progress, to build a better society. And the great thing is that we have a fantastic opportunity. AI is going to make things faster, more efficient, cheaper. There will be consequences and there will be collateral impact of all that. But hopefully we've learned from the couple of millennia of advanced society that we've been building, and therefore, we have the capability of doing better. So I would say that we are our best allies, and we're also our most dangerous enemies.
Yeah, I think you touch a great point. I think that maybe we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but it's about the training, right? Whenever we implemented Gen AI at Nestlé, we spend a lot of time in training and, teaching people how to use the tool, how to talk with the tool, how to get the value. But also about the critical thinking, right? To see, okay, this is an output, right? You need to, those things I think are super key. Whenever you think more as a country level, as you say, we need to think how we train, how we reskill kind of all our citizens really to get the value from AI. As you say, like stupidity could be one of the biggest challenges, right? But I think for this reason, I think we need to have a better training, better education about AI.
Yes, that's the beautiful thing about it. I think that there are very few tools and very few opportunities in the world where the tool itself can help you solve any problems that the tool can generate. Mm-hmm. So one of the best ways to educate people, to democratize access to AI, is AI itself. AI can help us further education, can help us customize education, customize concepts, make it available, make it more agile, make it free virtually. So great opportunity.
Good. Let's go now to legislation. Sorry, we have to talk about this.
I'm going to.
Let me give you a couple of examples of what we are talking about and challenges that we have as a society. 7 to 8 years ago, study about autonomous vehicles, and one autonomous vehicle has to take a decision. On the left side, someone 70 years old. On the right side, a child. There is no other way going left or going right. So what's going the decision to be taken out? Face recognition. Both of us, 3 of us, live in the US. So I love coming here from Iberia, from Latin America, my global entry, and just popping in, and that's it, 30 seconds. We know that there are countries that are not allowing these kind of issues. Emotional conclusions about conversations. Should you allow this or not? Bias, as you are talking about. So we are a society with bias, and all the data we need to train at the end the Gen AI, if we don't do nothing, will be biased. So my question for you is, what's the right balance on all of this? Because there has to be a right balance between allowing everything, and which will be maybe an issue, or avoiding almost everything, and we will lose this huge opportunity of using this technology. So what's the right balance? Sorry, it's a difficult question, but...
Whenever you don't know anything, what do you do? You ask Google.
That's a very good point.
You start and then I go.
Sure. I think that we all know that AI is too important not to regulate it, but it's also too important to not over-regulate. So we have to strike that right balance, like you said. It's also important to make sure that we're not regulating technology, but the applications of technology. Because technology is not good or evil. It's how you use it that matters, and it's up to us how we use it. And it cannot be, one size fits all either, because there are very many different applications, different kinds of contexts. So it has to be customized according to the risks that it entails and the reliability of the technology itself. I think that one of the good things that is coming out of the regulation is some sort of framework that establishes different levels of risk that I'm sure will be evolving over time. Different societies, Europe, the US, Asia, we all have different understandings of how much risk we want to undertake and how much sensitivity there is about certain data, certain applications, certain things. What's coming out of all this is that AI is a global technology, and as such, it's going to be spreading throughout the world. So we have to find a way to find compatibility between the different legal frameworks that are coming up. One is coming up in Europe, also the US, also other areas of the world. And we have to come to an understanding where we have the mobility, we have the transience that is going to enrich our world. But it's not, every time that you do something hard, it's usually not the case that it comes out perfect the first time. This requires iteration, it requires work, it requires collaboration, communication, and a good understanding between all the different stakeholders. And by stakeholders, I don't just mean governments. I mean all the stakeholders in the civil society, the industry, academia. Many voices need to basically come together to help come to the best regulation that we can so that we can progress, we can take advantage of this fantastic opportunity, and at the same time make sure that we mitigate the risks as much as possible. That's Google for you.
I love it. I love it.
Good.
I will add something, for ChatGPT. No, I think I totally agree with you, Pilar. At the enterprise level, for us, it's a balance between risk and value, right? And always, depending on the risk, there is some activity, some compliance, some security that needs to be met. But we had that at the enterprise level. So.
Okay, one last quick issue about this oversight or not about humans, about this technology. Let me give you an example. 1.5 months ago, I had the opportunity to be in San Francisco and using Waymo. Waymo, for those who don't know it, it's the new Uber with autonomous vehicles. Already 700 cars driving across 4 cities in the US. 100% controlled by the machine itself. So should we block this or not? Or should we allow it or not? In 30 seconds, what do you think about this? So the end is the question is, should we maintain human oversight in everything, or should we accept there are some things that we can trust in the technology?
As I was saying, to me,
now you cannot use Google.
No, yes, I was thinking that. To me, it's case by case. You need to really evaluate the value or the benefit of the solution or the application, right? And after that, you need to make the decision about the risk of this to be totally autonomous, or you need a human in the loop. But to be honest, you cannot have a law that kind of applies to everything at the same level, right? You need to think about the different applications, right? Even if there are blocks of applications, but you need to have this differentiation between applications. So because I'm living in the United States, I would say I'm really cool with this law.
Okay. Pilar, what about you? Waymo is from Google, so...
Yeah, I'm a little biased, I'm sorry. Waymo is an alphabet company, and I wrote a Waymo not so long ago, and it was a wonderful experience, I have to say. So I'm all in favor of using Waymo. Sorry about the publicity. But in general, I think that the question is more about our feelings, how we perceive things to be versus the reality of what we're doing. If you look at the statistics and you look at the forecast of how many more or less accidents there will be with more autonomous vehicles, you will see that there will be a massive reduction of accidents. So that's the forecast. So errors or mistakes will be made, but there will be fewer than with humans. But what happens with technology, and more so with AI, is that we raise the bar much higher than we can actually hold it to ourselves. And sometimes that's right, but sometimes it's also something that we need to kind of think about and use our common sense and think, is this something that we really want to have human oversight with everything that comes with it? Or is that something that we can actually let go and just use it as is? There are other applications that are high risk that I would not want a machine to just make all the decisions, and therefore human oversight will always be required. But I think that autonomous vehicles are not necessarily one of those.
Okay. Let's change to our last, shall I say, block subject. So let's talk a little bit about economics and employment and so on. So I'll start immediately. If we talk about autonomous cars, it's obvious that something will happen with the drivers, but it's also obvious that new jobs will be created. We already talked about this here in this conference before. And the economy, so sure, is going to have a huge impact in all of this. So trillions and trillions of dollars that all companies are betting on this. So what's your thoughts in 1 minute about this? And then I'll go to the last question.
Shall I?
Yes, you can go. I can go if you want. To me, I think the transformational is going to be, big. it's going to be huge from my point of view, right? If I extrapolate things that we're seeing, or in companies like Nestlé, other companies other partners that we're working with, regarding productivity, regarding innovation, regarding operations, I think you extrapolate that to all the companies in all the enterprise, and then a country itself, I think the impact is going to be. So this morning we were talking about investment in data centers, right? So the impact is there too, right? So the impact is going to be huge. So of course there are going to be some jobs that they're going to be maybe changing, right? Or we need to rethink how those jobs they're going to add value, right, in an organization. But there are going to be many other kind of new jobs. For instance, like 20 years ago, they were not social managers or programmatic managers in media, right? And now there is a big ecosystem of media with these new roles. We're expecting there's going to be the same. Yeah. But I think probably the challenge is like enterprise and governments, they need to be intentional on this kind of design of new roles, of those reskilling kind of citizens in some way.
I think that the impact is going to be huge. If I remember correctly, one of the reports sizes up the impact and an increase of the European economy in $1.2 trillion. And I don't even know the number for the US, but I'm sure it's many times that as well. So we're talking about a complete change, a new revolution. And in every industrial revolution, what's happening is that some jobs were destroyed, evolve, change, but then many more new jobs and occupations and roles were created. I think that when we talked about the internet, the McKinsey reports talk about 1.7 jobs created for everyone that was lost. So therefore, you know, the opportunity is there. There is no reason to believe that there is a negative impact of this unless we don't pay attention to what we already know, which is this transformation that we're talking about. So there will be a need for a transition. There will be a need for new policies. There will be a need to make sure that those communities that are more vulnerable to lose their jobs, because automation, like anything, like any time progress is involved, there are policies in place and there are transition plans in place so that, again, we build that society that we are talking about. But we know this. We can be ready, and we have new tools, and we have a growing economy or a growing opportunity in the trillions of dollars that will help us manage this accordingly.
Okay, the last question is going to be to you, Pilar, last question. And it's a kind of provocative question.
Uh-oh.
Each one of us that are in this room, we spend roughly, or we need roughly, 23 watts in our brain to function. That's what science says. But when you look to Gen AI, that number scales up exponentially. How are we going to manage this? Because at the end, this is the sustainability week.
Well, the reality is that since this whole craziness started on a more public view, because we've been researching on this for very many decades now, but it became more popular or more known to the public in the last 18 months. There is a 97% reduction in the cost of training tokens. I mean, that's an impressive level of progress. So every time, with every generation, with every model, especially from the Google perspective, where we have all the different layers going from the hardware itself to all the different layers of software, we are making it more efficient in terms of cost, in terms of energy, in terms of data. So the trend is going there. Google became carbon neutral in 2007, and we are on target to become carbon-free by 2030. And of course, these new technologies have made it making those goals a little harder, but that doesn't mean we cannot achieve it, especially because we can use AI to help us become more efficient, create more efficient architectures, and therefore save technology. And something that I'm particularly excited about is biocomputing. So I think that with all these applications that we're seeing with AI, I'm hoping that in the next few years we will also see some more progress in the field of biocomputing to try to leverage what we have up there.
Good. Okay, as I promised, the close is not going to be done by none of us. I really would like to do it in real time, which is generate AI, making a summary of what we've been talking about, because we cannot. So what we built, what I asked GenAI to build, was a really short podcast, 1 minute and 15, to summarize what the first avatar, which at the end it's GenAI also, was talking about. So can you please put the podcast?
Hey everyone, AI is everywhere these days, right? Headlines, social media, you name it. It's like everyone's trying to figure out what it means for the future, especially in the business world. And you know what? They're right to be paying attention. We're actually diving into that today. You send over this speech, and let me tell you, it really gets into how companies can use AI to not just survive, but really thrive.
Yeah, it really does. It seems like everyone's talking about AI, but this speech, it's not just hype.
Right. It's like, okay, we get it. AI is here to stay, but what do we actually do about it?
Exactly. And this speech, it was given by Miguel Teixeira's AI avatar. He's the deputy CEO at NTT at a big global economic forum this past September. It really lays out a practical roadmap. What I found really interesting is this whole idea of the digital coworker.
Okay, hold on. AI avatar, like a virtual Miguel delivered the speech.
You got it.
That's wild. Okay, sorry, digital coworker. So AI is going to be our new office mate.
In a way, yes. But it's not just about AI doing some tasks for us. It's about fundamentally changing how we work together.
Gotcha. So more like a collaboration, not a replacement.
Exactly. It's interesting because the speech starts off by saying, this is a digital revolution. Like, you know, on the same...
Okay, so again, this was GenAI talking about GenAI. I just want to finish saying one sentence that I really love it. I always use it in the company, which is from Alvin Toffler. The illiteracy of the 21st century is not a language, is not digitalization. It's an ability to unlearn, learn and relearn. And I think GenAI is one of the things we have to apply it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next panel. The name is Iberia-America, United States and Spain, a common space for digital